is what this class is about. This is reading the horse. So when the information comes to you from the horse, and this takes a while for any of us to learn the subtleties of reading a horse. It doesn't happen, and it certainly won't happen in this weekend. But if you start getting interested in it, that's what leads you to learning it. You know, and so just like when the combination that using the rein as an aid. Always remind, if you're using a baton, a rein, a switch, or whatever it is, it's not designed to make the horse go. It's designed to be an aid to your legs. That's because when I grew up on the farm, we were out riding in the woods or something, and my horse wouldn't go very fast, or was getting real doggy. I'd reach up and break a switch off of a tree. All of a sudden, I had a 17-hand horse. You know, whoa, what do you want to do? I didn't even use the whip on him, or the switch on him. Okay, but the point of that was that was then used as the motivator to go. It was not being used as a tool for teaching. In other words, I, as a kid, wasn't using it as an aid to my legs. I just was threatening him, saying, "You better go, or I'm going to spank you." You know, and so now that I wanted the switch to have the same effect. I wanted my legs to have the same effect that the switch did. So when you're using an aid for your horse, you remember that it has to be in concert with your legs. It can't be one and then the other, because what you'll find yourself doing is you'll become dependent and thinking, this is what I need to make this horse go, i.e. spurs. This is what I need to make this horse go, and that's never the case. You know, so this is an important part of our process when we do this kind of stuff, to realize what we're actually, how we're developing that motivation. And your horse was a good example of that. It may have been more helpful if I had to use more energy, but it didn't. And so this is what what I want you to feel comfortable with, is that it has to be a follow-through. You can't add your leg, add this, and nothing happens, and then start spanking the horse. You'd have to start over again, so your legs and this come together. What you find yourself doing, if your arm goes straight, your shoulder follows it. In other words, your shoulder goes down. That changes your seat. So everything functions where you bring the animal to it, and you did it really well. I mean, it was like a habit you didn't have, and you said, I don't need that, I'll do this.
Right.
And it worked really well.
Yes.
And so, and you should experience, I'm sure you did, the difference that you feel in the horse.
Yes.
When you're working from this position rather than, it becomes pilot discretion.
Okay.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You know, so there's not a way this has to look, because this is a personal relationship between the rider and the horse. And what your purpose is in any given lesson is developing clarity. Okay, so let's say you've done what you've done and you backed her up and she walked off. You know, you realizing that she had no idea that she was not required to walk off, or being, she doesn't know what our intentions are. So this is where you start to develop your teaching pattern. So if she walks off, you quietly use her the way you do, set her up. And it's just like, if anybody have ever, when we're doing a trailer loading as an example, and a horse goes into the trailer, they come right back out. The temptation for the person is to stop the horse so it doesn't come back out. But the only way the horse learns is if it comes out and goes right back in.
Right.
So it comes out, it goes right back in. It's called a rapid reload, but it's not intended to be an urgency. It's just you follow through. You don't change your location. The horse comes out, goes back in. It doesn't take the horse long to realize, I think it's better in here, because every time I'm out there, I have to do something.
Right.
The same thing applies here. When your horse is doing something other than what you're imagining it to do, it has to be repeated enough. In other words, you have to give it a reason to want to stand still. I know that John Lyons made a comment that, to clarify this very point, he said, if you lead a horse to water, can you make him drink? And everybody said, no. He said, yes, you can. You can give him some salt.
Oh!
So, I mean, just for the mental picture of what you're dealing with, you give your horse a reason for a decision. Just like in your case, your horse just kind of bubbling over with wanting to be somewhere. She doesn't know where she wants to be, other than maybe home. But now you're using her, and she's going, okay, I think I'll just stand here. And now she may only stand there for a short time,
Very short time,
but you don't want to find yourself thinking, I didn't want her to move yet, because that's not your responsibility.
That's right.
It's her responsibility to want to stand still. If it looks really easy, it is easy. You know, it is easy.
You to say.
Well, no, it is, because you're dealing with the response of the horse. This is what the class is about, learning how to recognize response in a decision. Well, and that's the learning process. I mean, you are new, basically, to the process of communication with horses, and many people are. Some people have been riding for 40 years and are new to the process of communication. Okay, so when it's easy to find yourself in that position where I don't know what to do next, but there comes a point, and you're getting better at it, realizing, because you talk about it a lot, the follow through.
Yeah.
You're learning how to finish a decision.
You used to say that to me, but you know, honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't.
And it is not a necessarily an easy thing to understand what the follow through means. Sometimes we'll explain it like this: your core is where your balance exists. Your core is the motive, is what causes a forward decision. You know, if you're not using your core, it looks like this when you step out. If you're using your core, you're moving out. Okay, so you can kind of imagine, when you put yourself on the horse, I have to have the energy going forward from my core. It's not just, and I demonstrated on your horse, I can sit there and squeeze that horse all day, and the horse just, and he'll sit there all day. But as soon as my core came engaged, all of a sudden he came to life and moved up. That subtlety of that decision of life is an observation that we make if we're paying attention to the horse. And because we do this and the horse does that, we don't think much of that, because we wanted to be off on a trot or something. But that's the building block of the process of the decision. And like Denise's horse, on the backup, when he was backing up, she wanted to start to perform the dance a little bit. But there's no way to perform the dance because his backup was like this. You know, he was just kind of moving backwards. But it wasn't moving backwards. And so the horse has to have that fluid decision to move on the command. And there's all kinds of things, even in the demonstration when I rode the horse, Denise could see it, but there's all kinds of things she can't see, because there's an energy that comes from the rider that you can't see. You know, so this is part of where we learn a little bit, hopefully, about ourselves and how we affect the decision of these animals. And it is just truly, I think, the most rewarding part of having a horse is to learn how to get inside of the animal. I think Tom Doran said, if you learn how to work with the inside of the animal, you can get the outside to do anything you want.
That's good.
You know, and I think that's true. You know, and we miss that all the time because we're consumed with, I want to ride this horse. Yeah, when we know what's going on wrong, that's where we should be able to develop what's going on right.
Well,
But it's easy to get, the wrong can get us so distracted.
and that's what happened to me.
Yeah, it happens to everybody. You know, something's going wrong and you just get frustrated with the animal.
Well, and you throw the wind in it. That'll help.
That's like a golfer complaining about the wind.
Right.
Just an excuse. Doesn't change anything. And the wind is a great thing to consider, because we just identify, my horse doesn't do well in the wind. So we identify the wind as being the problem. It's not. It's the barometric pressure that causes a wind that is the problem. That's what affects your horse. That's how it affects people. There's some people that you don't want to be around when it's windy. They get real agitated, and it has to do with the barometric pressure. It's not the wind itself. Well, every one of us, we should go into the weather department, and we could all get jobs, because we've got enough things going on that when things change, yeah, it's going to rain today. What an advancement that you make just in that observation, because if you realize that, now you have all the ingredients you need to get better and better and better. You know, you really do. You know, and that's that awareness of the the timing of our awareness and our response to their response is basically our timing. And it is, like you said, it can happen where, oh, he's doing it, and you won't release, thinking, oh, he's cool, he's doing it. We were in Germany years ago doing some clinics. It was a reining, all quarter horses. It was a reining training facility. And the lady that owned it she was a good trainer. And she had a large class of people. But by the nature, and it's not a German nature, but by that, the European influence is usually pretty rigid. And you'll see it in the Germans a lot because that's how they have been taught. So that rigid relationship. Well, in this part of this clinic, this one gal was, they were working for 3 months to get this horse to back up. 3 months, and they could only get a step or two out of it. But when you watched them, they were, come on. And it would have been, if you could have watched it, it would have been a funny story. The lady that is the trainer naturally has a lot of pride because she's been doing it for a long time. And I had a gal with us that was our apprentice here, a German gal, and she was my translator. And so as I was instructing this lady's students, the lady was sitting on the fence talking in German, actually telling her students, don't do that. Because it was so different than what. So this horse that wouldn't back up, it took less than 10 minutes. And that horse was backing up like a freight train.
Still say don't do that.
And she finally, at the very end, when we finished the second or third day, whatever it was, of the class, we were having dinner together in their house, and she said, because I told Christina, I said, I think we should I said, I feel really uncomfortable here. And at the last day, we were having dinner, and she says, I have to apologize. And so she did, and she said, in my area, I'm considered light, and I don't know what light is. So that was a big deal, but that was just what we're talking about in this information about how you back a horse. And that horse was more than willing to back up if it was given a chance to back up. So this is, this is good to every one of you when you run into some of these difficulties. That's the kind of the building blocks. Are you left-handed or right-handed? Okay, now pay attention to this, everybody. Because of your equilibrium, if you're right-handed, you will use more strength on your left side. And it works. If you're right-handed, you'll use more strength on your left side. A right-handed person in a round pen will typically, it has to do with, ambidextrous kind of stuff, but typically a right-handed person feels more comfortable going to the left in a circle than they do to a right. Okay? So your natural makeup of being left-handed or right-handed has an effect has an effect on the information that comes to your horse. So it's something to think about.
How strong was the wind? How long was it going to last?
It's going to last forever, and it's supposed to be 20 miles an hour. So let's plan on we'll just take our lunch break now, and you guys might want to eat in the house, unless you want.
Put a little gravel in your sandwich.
Put a little Paulden in your sandwich. Okay, good deal.
I can't